Megumi Fushiguro versus Reggie Star is the best Culling Games fight. More than its hype moments and aura, the fight represents a beautiful ideological battle between bureaucratic boundaries and creative ingenuity. Paper versus shadow, past versus future, limits versus potential. All of it's right here, just waiting for some faux intellectual teenager to mansplain it to you. Throughout the fight, Gege expertly uses each fighter's curse technique and personality to display a clash of philosophies, ultimately concluding by demonstrating that creative good triumphs over controlling evil. Anyway, that's enough foreplay. Let's start. Before we begin, I'd like to mention that this video draws heavily upon this fantastic video by The Ascension and this Reddit post by Glittering Fabulous. Reggie Star is a reincarnated sorcerer from the past who does quite well for himself in the battle royale, points-based environment of the Culling Games. He establishes a circle of powerful followers in order to streamline the murder of weaker sorcerers, but he doesn't hold those followers very close to his heart. Notice how he refers to Remy here, his primary tool of luring victims. He doesn't even address her directly, just notes her utility to him, almost like she's just a cog in a machine. For more looks at Reggie Star, look at how he treats his ally here. After Megumi fucking ices that dude, he drifts down lazily and says, "Damn, what a waste of points. Didn't even get to use his technique." That corpse is not a person to Reggie. It's a bundle of points with a technique that didn't even provide any value. This is important, because throughout JJK, the bad guys are constantly characterized by seeing people as tools or weapons. The higher-ups only see special grades like Gojo and Geto as human nukes to just order around. They don't care about the trauma that inflicts on a person, the kind of pain that can cause over a long period of time. Speaking of hidden inventory, Toji only kills Gojo because of what he represents. He's not a person. He's a symbol of what Jujutsu society is to him, just an obstacle with a ton of power that he can knock over. Those same higher-ups from before are calling for the execution of a teenage boy simply because of the possible threat he represents, rather than recognizing his passion, mission, and capabilities, not to mention the innate value of a human life. Are you seeing the parallel here? It gets deeper and more interesting when we realize our protagonists are doing that to themselves. Yuji's arc versus Mahito is about realizing how he's simply a cog in the machine, and he's noticeably less personable post-Shibuya. He's sacrificed individuality for the mission, seeing himself as just a faceless warrior in the great cause. For more on that, I have a video coming out soon. About Megumi, though, he does this in a way that's best displayed by one entity. Maharaga represents Megumi's lack of self-worth. Again, his presence in Jujutsu society is wholly defined by his technique and not him as a person. It's the only reason his clan cares about him, and it's the only reason Naoya seeks him out. The summoning ritual is the ultimate dehumanization of Fushiguro. It's this idea that we don't care about your life. You're just the vehicle that the divine general Maharaga arrives in. And for as long as we've seen him, Megumi lives primarily to protect people like Yuji and his sister, never himself. It's revealed in this fight that his curse technique is literally weighing on him. Remember all those times he holds curse tools to give to others and realize that he literally carries burdens for his allies, that weight on his own shoulders. You can see that compassion contrast with Reggie in the way both of them treat Remy. Remy serves Reggie, and he almost blew her up. Remy tries to kill Megumi, and he shows her grace, sparing her. So, Megumi is selfless, but to an unhealthy extreme. It's an active detriment to his own future and safety. His technique embodies that. This means Megumi's expansion is notable not just as a feat that it is, but as a decision against summoning Maharaga. When he opens his domain, he's stating, "I'm not throwing away my life for you. I'm more important than my technique, and this is my moment." Megumi's name translates as blessing, but it's up to him to decide whether it's his technique or his personality that is the blessing. In a healthy display of selfishness, when he opens his domain, he decides that it's both. When Reggie Star is trapped in the shadows, we see what it's like to be in there from another point of view, and it's fucking terrifying. I love how both Megumi and Gojo's domains convey this terrible sense of unlimited emptiness, just like overwhelming isolation. It's a really cool way to draw parallels between the two strongest wielders of their respective techniques. Remember that domains aren't just metaphorical, they're a literal conjuring of your innermost mental state, projected and painted in front of you. This is what it's like to be Megumi. Shit, dude.
なんだ君もなかなか悪い顔をしているな
Now, that's enough about Megumi's curse technique. Let's talk about Reggie Star's. Reggie's curse technique is contractual recreation. In essence, he can burn receipts or contracts to reproduce the goods or services written on them. Think about what that represents for Reggie's view of the world. To him, actual goods, actual value is less important than what is inscribed on a piece of paper, what the written representation of it is. Gege criticizes Japanese society in a bunch of different ways during JJK, but a few episodes ago, the lawyer Higuruma represented how you could be so disillusioned with the bureaucracy of justice, you would embrace a free-for-all death game instead. If we look at Reggie's technique the same way, you can see how his represents the disillusionment with the bureaucracy of record-keeping. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic, flashback, I know, exposed just how cripplingly reliant the Japanese system was on paper records, to the extent that 77% of companies were unable to telework due to a lack of digitalization. Hospitals were hampered by the fact that doctors were legally required to do COVID paperwork by hand and fax it places. We don't know much about Gege Akatami, the writer and artist behind JJK, but we do know that the Culling Games arc was published between 2021 to 2023 and was being written long before that. I know COVID was fucking 6 years ago, but imagine the stress and pressure you were under in those times. Imagine how much worse it would be if you know your government and system had regulations almost designed to operate as slowly as possible. Wouldn't you want to channel that frustration into a character and then break all those characters' bones? We can characterize Reggie's technique and personality with controls, limits, and restrictions. At the same time, we can characterize Megumi with creativity, recklessness, and potential. With all of that in mind, and without further ado, let's watch this fight through that lens. We're starting in a church with Reggie at the altar, like a priest. Megumi crashes in defiantly on the side of the parishioners, but Reggie's the one that starts talking. He's preaching in the scene, exerting control and power over the situation. Pay attention to the dialogue here. From the start, he's trying to impose limitations and boundaries, not just on Megumi, but the fight itself. A water attack's pretty simplistic, isn't it? You must be exhausted. Neither of us can use big, high-output moves. It's futile, see? You can't kill me. He's just negging him. It's hilarious. This next part's fun because Megumi sees what Reggie's trying to do and plays into it, agreeing with him and fleeing. Reggie gives chase, but he's a fucking dork who follows the rules, so he puts on a helmet. That wasn't true in the manga, by the way. Once we're in the gym, Reggie blasts Megumi with his random bullshit go stream, explaining that he can imbue his summons with certain simple commands. Again, his technique is a peek into his manipulating personality. He sees everyone as these objects, they're just waiting for his words to perform some function or utility, to be useful to him. As Megumi's backed up against the wall, Reggie closes in for the kill, but of course my king is not going down like that. Notice how the threads extending from this heart skeleton thing are stretching and whirling out endlessly, as if tracing the million different ways this fight could go. Megumi's domain represents creativity. In the first season, Megumi describes it as broadening the interpretation of the technique, doing it more freely. Notably, he's doing it in sort of like a hack, improvised way. Megumi's domain is incomplete. He refers to it as such. It's ugly work at best. He's specifically trying to worry about a specific structure later. Think about how experimental artists do the same, throwing away commonly held fundamentals to create something both cruder and more elegant. Creativity in this sense means pushing boundaries, ignoring limits, breaking rules, unlocking 120% of your potential. It's that mentality that Megumi will use to win this fight. In reaction to this domain, Reggie falls upon his book option, what the rules say he should do. Hollow wicker basket, a technique that neutralizes sure-hit domains. However, Megumi's domain is just like those experimental art pieces that don't follow the rules, leaving Reggie vulnerable. The narrator states, that very imperfection is what caught Reggie Star off guard. To make a point, creativity beats established rules. Let's go on. Listen to Reggie's internal monologue here. It's all about limiting options and placing restrictions. Well, if he pulls out that elephant here and drenches me in water, it'll have my options. It's so like me to make sure that won't happen. Here's where we get Reggie's big brain moment when he realizes the secret to Megumi's technique. It's placing physical weight on him. From this point on, his strategy pivots to weighing Megumi down, literally crushing him under the bureaucracy of records and trapping him in red tape, so to speak. In response, Megumi's strategy is to innovate harder, pivoting into more recklessness. This is immediately shown when he...
There's still something you need to address!
Not only is that fucking awesome, it's Reggie's lack of creativity that lets this move land. Reggie convinced himself of two things in this moment. One, the elephant only serves as a water attack, and two, he successfully limited Megumi's options. He can't do anything he won't see coming now. It's that lack of ingenuity that leads this move to land so perfectly on his face. After attempting a play, Reggie is sucked into Megumi's domain, and we get an outsider POV. As I said before, it sucks in here. As I said before, this is what it's like to be Megumi. Right after this, he rises up on a car he commands and deploys his trump card on an entire fucking building. Where and how did he get that? Was he just rooting through local real estate offices when the culling game started? Doesn't matter. Cut to black. We're going to crash to the floor below and witness a face-off on both sides of a swimming pool. They exchange words, walk a little, and then start exchanging blows. Reggie has an internal dialogue moment where he's like, oh, he'll use a shikigami other than a dog. Surely. Surely. I love the pretend camera work in this scene. Oh my god, they're drawing a fisheye lens. What the shit, dude? Megumi decides he does not have to be boxed into Reggie's little limitations, so he pulls out the dog and it clutches up for the MVP, giving Reggie the exact same shoulder wound that Megumi's just been dealing with this entire fight. At last, it's over. What a fucking fight. You might like this fight because of the awesome visuals. You might like this fight because of the brilliant performances by the insanely talented voice actors. You might even like this fight because it's creative in a way many of the other hand-to-hand brawls simply aren't. I agree with all of those reasons, but I hope I've left you with a new one. More than a fight, this battle is a debate. It's a brilliant showdown between two of the highest battle IQ sorcerers in the verse, absolutely giving it their all. It's a story of how creativity overcomes limitations, how manipulators underestimate their victims, and a triumphant comeuppance against people who try to control you. And that is why Reggie Star versus Megumi Fushiguro is the best Culling Games fight. At least until the next episode comes out.